The biggest complexity in the deployment of change is, it'll sound very basic when I say it, but it's just simple lack of alignment or competing priorities. That's what it is. So even if it's in a small organization, if you have multiple partners who have competing priorities or they're not aligned on something, that creates an insane amount of complexity in driving change. So that's the number one thing. In mining organizations, the reason driving change within a mining operation is challenging is because their role is to get either more ore out of the ground faster, float more ore, mill more ore. So whatever type of organization you are in mining, they have a primary job. The job is to just get more value out of the raw material presented to them. Their job is not to implement new technology. So they have no governance structures in place to actually drive the implementation of technology or drive the implementation of change. So that's what we're doing for those organizations is we're going in and establishing governance structures. I was just at a site yesterday that we implemented a management operating system at, and I love the feeling of the site. That sort of any new way of them trying to manage the site that they want to manage, they actually have a governance structure in place. They have a weekly, set of routines that helps them drive that through. So that site is a really great example of where you implement transform, right? And you simplify the complexity of it. But really in terms of complexity, the lack of governance structures to make the change, the lack of alignment within the owner's team, the leadership team, is the highest, most complicated factors. When we talk about historical baggage is is also pretty present because people say, back in the day we used to do this, and back in the day, like in the good old days, this is what happened, and we didn't have to do X, Y, or Z. We have people resisting logging into a system because they're used to getting a piece of paper in front of their faces, right? So it's the back in the day mentality. But I think the single biggest thing that is not obvious to individuals, that is very that you could think that you're in a hierarchical organization driving change, is when the leadership structure is not as expected. So if you're typically expecting a organization to have one boss and one person to make the decision, and that's typically what an organization has, but suddenly for some reason now they have a group at the helm, it's extremely jarring for the people looking for that decision making. So, or sometimes if you expect a command and control leader and the site's been command and control the whole time, and suddenly you get some person coming in and trying to do kumbaya and saying, I want everybody's opinions and give me your feedback and things like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but really, like, if the site has expected command and control, right? And you're not giving them command and control, suddenly you've changed the leadership style. It's jarring. You can't implement change because the expectation, suddenly you have to train 100% of your staff to expect different kind of management. Not saying it's going to be bad, but it's going to be really, really slow to change, and it's going to be very jarring.